I'm Renaye Edwards. I'm 42. I am a co-founder and director of a marketing agency, and I've been given a few questions here to talk to you about today. I haven't pre-prepared at all. I'm kind of doing them off the cuff, so do excuse me if I'm kind of rambling. So first question is, summarize your career, how it started and any key milestones. So when I reflect back on my career, I guess it started in the post room. So I'd kind of originally gone to London to become an actress, I guess, or get into the arts, but very quickly realized there was a lot of people who were a lot better than me, and realised I needed to actually kind of make money fairly quickly if I wanted to kind of stay in London. So I ended up in the post room. I had like a 6-month maternity cover contract, and I literally made it my mission within those 6 months to introduce myself to as many people as possible, made sure that I was kind of known, quickly realised that actually opportunities came from relationships with other people that you had. And so it was one person that knows another person, and yeah, within those 6 months, even though I was kind of literally in the post room and not even out on the office floor where literally all the servers were, it's freezing cold. And I always remember I actually put a picture of myself in my graduation outfit on my desk, just so that people, when they came into the post room to drop the letters off, could see that, you know, I did actually have a degree, which I find quite funny now. I mean, who has a picture of themselves on their desk? Strange. Anyway, so after those 6 months, there was a job that I was able to apply for in marketing. I got the job, and I literally crawled my way up the ladder, really. You know, I would kind of set myself a bit of a goal, you know, from marketing assistant to marketing exec. I want to be this by this time. And so I was very, very focused by the time that, even when I started out as that marketing assistant. And so that took me right up really until my kind of early 30s. And that's when I'd met my business partner, and we decided to set up an agency. We'd never worked in one before. We just kind of took a complete punt, which is very much outside of, I guess, how I've been brought up, which is, you know, to ensure that you're financially secure and all those things. So it was a big leap for somebody like me who hasn't got like maybe not so much of an entrepreneurial spirit sort of built inside of them. I always needed to know where my money was coming from. So we set the agency up, and 10 years later, we sold it. We sold it a couple of years ago. And so to date, I'm still very much working in that agency. Next question, brief history, where you're from, your family setup, education and background, etc. So I originally grew up in Portsmouth. I'm the eldest of 2, so I have a brother and I have a sister. In terms of my education, it was state school. I was very much, if I'm honest, kind of bottom of the class for majority of the academic subjects. I kind of, I guess, threw myself mainly into sport, and that's why that's kind of, I guess, where I got a little bit more of that kind of gratification from. Then in terms of the kind of family setup, my mum and dad divorced when I was about 13. We very much lived with my mum. We were seeing my dad every weekend, but it started to become, as I kind of got into my teenage years, 14 and 15, it got probably sort of like less and less, if you like. So kind of went to sort of every other weekend. Mum was a single mum of 3. She was on benefits, but she was also kind of working all hours until late at night. Same for my dad, really. Very much we're kind of letting ourselves in after, I would make the children, my brother and sister, their cereal and things like that, like of a night time till my mum could come in and actually kind of cook a meal for us. So it was quite tough, if I'm brutally honest. You know, there were no, in terms of, I guess, extra, you know, if I think about sort of crisps and chocolates and things in the cupboards, it definitely wasn't like that at all. And then if we wanted something, it would literally go on a birthday list. Very, very quickly, I think, realised the sort of value of money and independence quite quickly. So doing quite a lot of, when I kind of hit, by the time that I'd hit 13, I was working in a coffee shop, babysitting, post round, you name it. I was doing it. I definitely, very quickly, when I think about it now, I loved being able to kind of have that sort of that additional money to be able to buy, you know, maybe a new school bag or something like that for school, so that a fashionable one, if you like. So who did you lose? How old were you, and what stages of life were you in? So I was 17 when I lost my mum. My brother was 10 and my sister was 14. And in terms of what stages of life, so I mentioned that, you know, I wasn't very academic, and as such, I think I only got maybe 4 GCSEs above a grade C, but you needed 5 in order order to do A levels. So I was at college doing this kind of GMVQ plus retaking my maths and English GCSE again. Wasn't going to let it lie. I very much kind of had seen myself staying in education. When I lost my mum, that's where I was, doing this GMVQ to get to do the A levels essentially. It kind of fell on top of some of those sort of exams and things like that. How do you think your losses have impacted your career, positive and negative? When I think back, my mum very much wanted me to, definitely had the mentality in our family, kind of get out there, work. There wasn't this thing of like university wasn't even really spoken about in my family, and it was very much like, right, get yourself, and even right up until kind of my mum's death, I felt like she didn't really understand why I was retaking, why I was doing these A levels. She very much was kind of encouraging me to get out at work. I was doing a lot of sideline jobs, but essentially I was trying to get my A level, and I don't even know where that came from, because as I said, my mum and dad, they were very much about work. In terms of how it kind of impacted my career, I think for me, as anyone, it's a massive, massive blow. It's like pain that you will never, ever kind of experience again. And I kind of used that somehow, that kind of boiled up as this kind of anger, and which then turned into this sort of grit and determination. And I feel like that has been a real driving force for me and the way that I approach life, not just my career, but life, living every day like it's your last. And I think also it's to do with circumstances. I have this massive fear that I don't want to be a single mother of 3 children. I saw my mum do it. We had no money, clapped out car in the driveway, no food in the fridge, freezing cold house. That was not going to happen. I'd kind of really set my goals that wasn't going to be a thing. So, and then in terms of, I think, setting the business up, I definitely reached a point when I was about 30, I was doing the same journey every day, and it was past a graveyard. And I just remember thinking, right, in 5 years' time, the next step for me is to become CMO of a large tech company. I just thought, Christ, it's just, that's each their own, but it just did not excite me at all. I felt like I needed a bigger purpose, and I thought, I need to know where this money, I'm working like a dog, I'm making money for somebody, but I actually have never even met them. I'm these big corporations. So I was like, right, I either need to make money for myself, or I work for a charity. I do something more meaningful. I tried the charity route. It ended up being quite cliquey, quite difficult to get into. And so it just so happens that an opportunity arose where somebody had approached me to do some work for them. I had met who's now my business partner, and we were like, should we just do this together? Let's just say that we're freelancing, and in a year's time, if it doesn't work out, we'll just go back to our day job. But certainly that initial thing of going past that graveyard every single day, I was like, is this what life is about? I mean, this was before I had my daughter, but certainly that was a big driver for me. I was like, literally, we could all be gone tomorrow, and that inbox is still going to have a load of emails in it from people. And, I just needed to do something that was meaningful. Do you think your losses have impacted you as a leader? If so, positive or negative? I think both positive and negative. I think I'll start with the negative. I think negative in a way that I'm very much kind of, if something sort of happens to somebody, it might be that, they're broken up with their boyfriend and it starts to impact with their work or something like that. I'm very much like kind of, right, pull your socks up, nobody's died, I think having gone through what I've gone through, you become, I guess, much more robust, much more resilient to things. And I think I always see, whenever kind of shit hits the fan, I'm kind of like, what, nobody has died, we all have our health. I think you take certainly a different lens and a different perspective on life. So I think I can be not as empathetic as I could be to some of those smaller issues that may kind of crop up with kind of staff, if you like. And I think on the positive side, I think certainly having obviously lost a parent, and there's been a few times when either I've been managing people that have lost parents, or that lost parents whilst they were with me, and so therefore I felt like I could really lean into that, and I wasn't shying away from that, because I think some people would maybe find that kind of too much, whereas I felt like I could really connect with that person and really kind of lean into that, if you like. And then in terms of, I guess, a leader, certainly I think, I go back to that kind of that resilience, that drive, that grit, certainly that, you need as an entrepreneur, being able to kind of pick yourself up when things get really low, and believe me that, they do. And you're just able to kind of get yourself back up the floor. It's fine. Nobody, and I always go back to the point, nobody has died. But sometimes, you do need to give yourself a break as well. It's you do need to put these in perspective. I think sometimes it has become a negative thing for me, because I feel like I've burnt myself out through kind of saying, do you know what, it's fine, crack on, Renaye, no one's died, like crack on. And ultimately, at some point you do obviously get to kind of breaking point, if you like. But yeah, if I was to summarize it, I think certainly the resilience, the grit, that innate determination to drive forward, for sure. What top pieces would you give to a young adult who's lost one or both parents? So I think for me, I think you can go two ways. And actually, when I think back to the different ages that we were, my brother and sister and I, when we lost my mum, 17, 14 and 10, like very, very easily, any one of us at those ages could have gone in a different direction, for sure, kind of got into the wrong crowd or become a real victim. And don't get me wrong, I think had my time where, I just remember drinking that, would go out and, I'd definitely be drinking that a little too much. But I think for me, I didn't let it define me in a negative way. It was always going to be, I just channeled all of that kind of anger and essentially channeled that into moving forward. Which again, I think has been a bit of a positive and a negative for me, because I do feel like I've been on this kind of, that has driven me up until this point, and now we've sold the business, I'm a bit like, oh, what's next? And that for me, that's where I am with my career now. I'm like, I was at a post room, I'm now sold the business. Yeah, I kind of almost have lost myself now, because that is what defined me. It was working hard and channeling that into my career. So I think, in terms of the advice, I think it's very much, you just not letting it define you. I guess I never did let people see me in a kind of a vulnerable sort of state, really, which actually I probably should have done in a way, but I didn't. So I think for me, it's kind of using that energy and that rawness and the horrificness of the situation, and just trying to channel it into something positive. Don't let it, it'd be very easy to kind of let life just kind of pass you by. I think for me, it's kind of focus on your goals, have your bricks. I talk about these bricks, and these are, for me, these people that kind of surround you, that support you, this positive energy that essentially kind of supports you and nurtures you, reinforces you to be able to help you to sort of drive forward. So establishing who those bricks are that are going to support you, I think for me was really, really key. And those bricks kind of bring different things, right? Mentor at school or college or work, whatever that might be a family friend that is not so close to the situation, because I think I found that hard as well, in terms of, talking to my family. It was all too raw to actually talk to them. So actually sometimes kind of having that kind of someone that's a little bit, that knows you but is a little bit outside from the situation. So your bricks, and essentially not letting it define you.